This effect is really cool and really simple to do. So let's get started and see how we can make it inside Premiere Pro. I have two clips right here. Both of them are of cars. And the reason why we're choosing cars is because we're going to do a lot of masking and tracking. So you want to find objects that are easy to mask out and of course easy to track. So contrast is really important. You don't want your subject to blend in with the background. Let's begin with our first video and make a sequence. Over here, we're going to duplicate this clip, hold down Option or Alt, and bring it right above. Next, we're going to hide our original shot, and with the duplicate, we're going to mask out the car. So go to Effect Controls, Pen Tool, and begin drawing your shape. It doesn't have to be perfect, but make sure that it's good enough so that Premiere Pro can track the movement. Cut your video if necessary, and then track the mask. So because the car didn't move as much in this video, Premiere Pro did a good job. Now duplicate this and nest this layer that we just made the mask on. Leave the duplicate alone and just nest this. Let's call this motion. So you should have something like this. On the nested layer, we're going to grab the offset effect. And this is going to kind of clone your mask multiple times. So go right here, if you add to the Shift Center 2, you can see that we're getting multiple clones of the car. And because we have this duplicate above, it's going to look a lot better. So be sure to leave this on. And now with the motion nested layer, we're going to, let's first bring it back to the original place. Make a keyframe at the beginning. Go to the end of your timeline or the end of this nested clip and increase this all the way so that it does multiple turns. So let me play this back. And the more you add to this, the faster it will be. So I'm going to go back here, 32,767, and you're just going to get this effect. Now to make this look better, because right now it just looks like a bunch of clones, we're going to just add a blur effect. Go to your effects panel and look for the directional blur effect. On your motion layer, add the directional blur, effect controls, directional blur, and just add to the length. Then you want to make sure that the direction is in the same way as your offset keyframes. So that would be 90 degrees. And now it's going to go that way, just like the offset keyframes. Finally, to fill in the little gaps between each of the duplicates, we're going to push this one floor up. We're going to leave the top layer up, lock it, then duplicate the nest layer and offset it so that we can fill in the gaps. We're essentially looking for one line of motion. And on the top layer, you can feather out the edges so that it doesn't look that sharp. And go into each of the nested clips to add to that feather amount. So I'm going to add like 50 for feathering and decrease from the mask expansion. -38 for this, 50 for a mask feather. Do the same thing in the other one. So now this will give us a better result. And now I have this effect. I'm going to remove from my selection here. There we go. So now you can just add any other transition or add like some other effects on it. I'm just going to nest everything. hit OK and just add maybe a transform effect. With this, I can do a zoom out effect. Have your playhead forward somewhere here. Make a keyframe for scale and position. We may need position. Go to the beginning of your video and just scale in towards the car. Maybe focus on the light here. And then using position, we're going to choose a better view. Enable motion blur, and you got yourself a better transition. So we get like a swipe and then all of these cars. So this is one way that you can use this. So to avoid seeing these people, we're going to go to our second scale keyframe and just zoom in more than we need to. So like 130. In the beginning is 225. And then in the second position keyframe, we're going to like push this down. So we just see the torso and not their faces. This can be less distracting. We can now work with the keyframes. Let's try ease in and work with the handles. And now we have a better movement. Now for the second example, we're going to do something a little different. So here we again have a car, but first of all, we don't have any other elements. And we're doing these turns. So the camera is kind of showcasing the car to the audience. I'm going to cut it right here before the camera pans backwards. So like right around here, cut the rest. And we should just have a slow movement of the camera around the car. Right click on the icon, enable time remapping, and stretch out this track. Once we have this, we're going to make some keyframes to make this more dynamic. Grab your pen tool, and maybe around here, I want to slow down. Around here, I want it to be fast again. Grab your selection tool and just make those adjustments. Something like this. I'm going to slow down the middle section just by a bit so we get this effect. So once I have this, I'm going to repeat what we did, beginning with a duplicate of my video. First, let's nest it because we applied speed ramping. Call it speed. Duplicate this and put it right above. On this, we're going to mask out our car, beginning at the start of the video. It doesn't have to be that perfect because 1, it's further away, and 2, we're going to use a lot of motion blur. All right, I have my selection, and we're just gonna increase the feather, then mask expansion. Then we're going to track the mask, which again should be pretty easy because the car doesn't move that much. Once you're done with the keyframing, I'm going to duplicate this again. Now that we have the keyframes, right click and nest this. Call this motion car. On motion car, we're going to repeat what we did. Offset, enable the stopwatch. At the beginning, go to the end, and increase this to the max amount, which is 32,767. Now we got ourselves this fast movement. Go to the effect controls, blur this out with a simple directional blur. On motion car, you can lock the speed duplicate to avoid ruining things. And then we're going to increase the blur amount quite a lot, changing the direction to the motion of the car. So we have this fast movement. You may have to work with your masking here. You just need to go in your speed layer and work with these keyframes. An easier way to get a cleaner mask is to have maybe After Effects or Mocha AE, but I'm just trying to keep it simple here, so you can just modify the mask if you want. Now here we have the option to kind of color these repetitions. Go right here, get the tint effect, add it on motion car, and we can map black to any color you want really. Let's try like a vibrant cyan. Then hit OK. So this becomes like a ghost thing that is going through your car. Now we're going to duplicate this, the motion car effect, and remove the tint from the top duplicate. Then just grab the bottom duplicate, which had the blue tint, offset this so that it does not start with the original coloring. So we have this like colored ghost effect, and you can just keep on doing this until you get until you have multiple colors. So I'm going to duplicate motion car one more time, offset it. This time change black into something different. Let's try magenta. So now we get cyan, magenta. Push this up, do this one more time with the yellow, so we have like CMYK. There we are. So we have these colors going through the car and creating something awesome. You can invert things, add colors, and really just get creative with this effect. It's really up to you and how you like it. So that's how we can do this motion swipe effect and get something really cool. You can also switch things up so you get a vertical effect rather than a horizontal one. Instead of adding it to this part on position X, you can do position Y so that the repetitions go vertically. So I hope you guys enjoyed this simple effect. Let's move on to the next lesson.